Hey everyone, this is JC Botero 67 with another episode, I guess you could say, of The Theorist. And today we are touching base on chapter 6 of Revelations. I do have to start off by saying that, oh my gosh, the alley scene and the bedroom scene had me going crazy. I freaking loved it, man. If you guys have read AnimeCujo's one-shot of Spears and Seal, Beautiful Boy, you'll see that Spears had, a wet dream. And honestly, that's how I felt. Keyword honestly, because Spears says that all the time. I seriously felt like Spears coming out of a wet dream, just reading that. So I'm sorry I had to make that awkward analogy, but I just had to. It was such a scrumptious scene. Scrumptious. I loved it. I wasn't expecting it to happen so soon, actually, because a little birdie told me that, I think it was like chapter 9, chapter 11, I don't know, but later on in the story, there would be a smutty scene. So I wasn't expecting it to happen so soon in chapter 6, but that made me happy, and I'm sure the readers were happy too. So that was unexpected, but in a good way. So now that we have that discussed and I can be more calm, because I actually read this in a setting that I was kind of like, I can't jump for joy, and there was no one for me to kind of let loose with on this whole scene, or these scenes, I guess, because there was 2 of them. So it's kind of nice to let loose on here, and I appreciate having been able to do that. So moving on, because I keep rambling on about this, we see that, it's storming outside, and Sebastian doesn't want Ciel to head back to his dorm, or his house, I'm sorry, because it's too crazy of weather out there. So, Sebastian insists on him kind of spending the night there, and Ciel gives in to that request. And he has this nightmare. And basically, Ciel is kind of standing on top of a hill, looking down, and it's this place that used to be really beautiful. Green and full of life. Children were playing around in the area a lot, whether under trees or splashing around in the river, as the description in the story suggests. But now it's devoid of life, and, it's pretty much a desert of death. It then kind of jumps down to Ciel holding something in his hand, and it turns out it was a sword that belonged to his father, and it has the Phantom Hive crest on it. So the sword, it's kind of a resemblance of what I've been talking about in, I think it was the chapter 4 review. I had mentioned that, I think Ciel is the heir of the previous chosen one, who was his father. So it's kind of like the sword kind of symbolizes that to me. And so that stood out from the nightmare. And then we are introduced to this guy that's walking towards Ciel, and it turns out it's Alois, but he has this different appearance. His clothes are all torn up, and then this is a direct quote from the nightmare. The thing that had frightened Ciel the most was the blank look that stared at him from those dead eyes. Once bright blue and alive with laughter, Alois's eyes were black, bottomless pools, reflecting the horrified expression on his friend's face. So, I basically interpreted that as how I've mentioned before, Alois is going to turn against Ciel, or there's going to be a point where they kind of capture him and torture him and try and use Alois's bait to bring Ciel to the demon side and, kind of give up his chosen status for the angel side. And then the chapter closes with Sebastian kind of waking up Ciel from his nightmare, trying to calm him down and tell him, it's all right, you were just having a dream, a bad, scary dream. And so then Ciel starts to calm down and he falls asleep again. And in this moment, you see that Sebastian really is falling for him. And this is another direct quote from the story. Ordinarily, he would be delighted listening to the sound of someone else's terror, the dark emotion one of his personal favorites. Sebastian frowned at the pull deep within his chest, finding that the tug on his heart lessened in correlation to Ciel's cries, quieting, and his movements stilling. The more the young man calmed down in his embrace, the lighter he felt. This was not something he was used to in the slightest. And then, more toward the end, it's morning and Sebastian's already awake. He sees Ciel, still sleeping and, kind of cuddling more with, the blankets or something because obviously Sebastian let go of the embrace and so Ciel's still trying to keep warm. And so it's such a cute little scene to see that Sebastian finds himself smiling. And it's something that he wouldn't have expected or wouldn't have imagined in a million years, I guess. But then, he's still trying to focus on his evil plan that he's still trying to form in his head. So after that chapter, and especially after those scenes in the alley and the bedroom, I am rooting for Ciel Sebastian, as is everyone else probably. But, it's rough because Sebastian's still intent on his evil plans, but, slowly and surely he will be falling for Ciel more and more and kind of letting go of the idea of hurting him and bringing him down. But, it's definitely not going to be easy. And, that's the cool thing about stories and movies and whatnot. You have to have that drama. And so there's going to be plenty of it later on, and we'll definitely be hooked with whatever dramas are thrown our way by the amazing AnimeCujo. So thanks for listening, guys, and we will see you again in the Chapter 7 review.